Yeah, hello, Mr. Daniel. How are you?
Hi, good,
Okay.
very good.
Yeah, so after making so many advances, technological advances as well as best practices advances, still projects are struggling when it comes to integrated monitoring and control and the completion of projects on time, within budget, and time. What are the real root causes leading to this?
See, I would say, though advances have been made, for example, starting with planning, we all use Primavera MS Project for planning. Now, this particular schedule that is made by the owner or assisted by a PMC reaches at a very high level to the people at the execution level, which is the contractor, the consultants, and the vendors. So, this overall schedule which they have is given to these people and they are asked to make their schedules. Many a time these two don't dovetail or nobody checks whether they dovetail. It's just communicated down the line and then they make their plans. As you know, in a project you have multiple organizations, you have multiple departments, you have multiple resources working on a project. So unless this particular schedule, which is the vision of the owner who wants to execute the project, reaches down to the bottommost level, everybody can make their own plans and keep doing things as per their plan. When you have a project, you have a critical path which defines what is the activities which need to be done so that the project doesn't get affected. Many a time people down the line may not know that, and if a delay happens, they have no way to find out whether this is going to cause delay in the project, and some of these delays will bring up non-critical items into critical path also, which you may not know. So the prioritization of the work which is done by the people down the line is based on what they think is important. So if I'm an engineering firm or an engineering consultancy firm, I make a commitment of certain drawings. So I look at that. I don't have a larger picture of how is this going to impact the project. I finish my job, and then I pass it on. As far as when an EPC contractor is concerned, he takes up the job, he takes the ownership for doing the job. But for him, it is critical that he monitors his schedule, he monitors his cash flow. He's got his own personal interest in doing this. Okay. So the owner as a person or his PMC is responsible to chase all these people and give them a common vision that we all have to work together to achieve this goal of completing this project on time. And the communication that takes place is not as clear as you can go to the last level. And what happens is not necessary that everything happens right. So when there is a failure, I can go back and communicate to them, but really are they doing their job as per what I recommunicated to them with a reforecasted plan? Okay. So back and forth communication and a seamless communication is what is to be established so that everybody works with one common vision.
So in a nutshell, what I understood is, okay, now still a seamless, a forward pass of the schedule from the owner till the subcontractor, and a backward pass from there. A seamless integration is not yet there.
It looks very difficult to be done. So, and to tie up every knot and making sure that it's communicated once and it's continuously communicated, is the challenge.
Okay, because they may be using multiple tools and
everybody is working in silos, right? They're doing their respective jobs.
Okay. So can we enforce these things through contractually?
See, it is very difficult. The only way what organizations like owners have done are that they have insisted on a periodic reporting. Okay. So they say instead of a monthly report, I want a weekly report. They might even insist on a daily report. Okay. Then what happens? There is a lot of labor involved in people down the line. So they'll add up cost to that and say, if you want me to give you all these reports, I need to sit down and capture all this information, put it in a format, give it back to you. And once all this information comes, the owner is going to put it into their plan and say, okay, is there a variation from what I thought? And if that is there, he needs to again say, okay, now you need to reforecast based on this and send it back.
Okay.
You know, so that is a challenge which, because people work in silos. So with a integrated system which takes the schedule from the top and drive it down to the last activity of each and every person, can do this, can achieve this. And it's also connected by the process flow, which is a quality procedure, or we call it as project quality plan, so that it reaches right up to the last person, and you're capturing that information from there and dynamically reporting it back, so you don't have to wait for a weekly report. You get a real-time information back there.
So if that is the case, now there will be a lot of ambiguity while prioritizing the task list at a individual level, because I may be doing it without analyzing the impact on the critical path.
There is no way to find out, right? Because there is a critical path defined by the owner, it's communicated, you make your own plans, and it's not seamlessly integrated. So hence what happens is, what is urgent, what is important, or just like we look at the Eisenhower's quadrants. People decide on what this is. I sometimes see that people prioritize based on who is firing you more, which boss is tough. So he wants to deliver, more powerful, So people prioritize their stuff. It's not done scientifically, or it's not done logically based on an impact on the project.
Okay.
So if there is a provision, and if through this, through an integrated approach, you can even, give the task list to the resource and also give them a priority which is linked to the criticality or linked to a cash flow, can also help in in getting people to do what is priority.
So are there tools available which can sit on top of this fragmented tools and then integrate it together and gives a bird's eye view of all these things as an seamless integrated
Absolutely.
system?
So that is where the, as I said, once the data is there, you can have dashboards which will show you what is the variance. So again, as I said, there is no point in doing something after the damage is done.
Right.
You need to have, give you predictability on telling you way before that these are things which are going to go off track, so that you are able to take preventive action and prevent the possibility of such delays happening. Now, as I said, when I talked about schedule, like there is a lot of emphasis on engineering, going into BIM, 3D and things like that. Okay, that's fantastic approach. That's exactly how manufacturing also moved. They moved to 3D. But the advantage in manufacturing was, I could take the same 3D model, I can send it to a manufacturing, I can do a mesh and directly issue this for manufacturing on a CNC machine. But in construction, except for a pipe design where you can take it to a pipe cutting or a CNC machine for piping, most of the other stuff has to be built, has to be constructed. So they have to take these 3D models, and the 3D models as BIM basically helps you to get more accuracy in your design and also prevent clashes inside a model and getting out drawings which are accurate. Beyond that, you still need to have those 2D drawings by which you have to construct it, you have to build it.
Right.
So the challenge that you have is the design what you made in these 3D using these 3D models is fantastic if you could do it right first time, but what happens in reality is changes come during the course of the project, and then you may need to go back and change your design. Unless there is a real emphasis from the owner who says, no, I want to make sure that you always modify the 3D and then your 2D comes in, because if it is in the construction phase, because you don't do everything and start construction, you sort of do it parallelly.
Okay.
So the contractor is waiting for the revised drawings to be issued.
Right.
If that pressure is very high and due to which it is going to impact the project, people start modifying things independently,
right,
and they just mark up in the 3D model and go away.
Okay.
So that is where you need to make a balance on how do you use 3D in a big way to get your your automation, but also constructability of that is important to achieve.
Yeah, I got it. So we are talking about a very idealistic situation where these things can work. Because when there is something is very urgent and important, the owner should have the wisdom or lack of wisdom to say that wait, and then I'll go
Don't
and
cut
update.
corners. Let's do this
Yeah.
as like this.
That may not be feasible. That feasible
Sometimes.
very often. Now, yes, I understood. Now we have, even if we know what is ideal, okay, we have this technical fragmentation, communication issues, contractual conflicts. We have all these things. Now, what can be a solution to this?
So the only way is there should be a seamless communication, or there should be a platform which connects everybody on one piece. The communication is already laid out, and it's automated, and it's proactive, so notifications comes to you in case you don't do things as per what you agreed to. And as I said, you can never think that the one single plan will get you to the goal. And every time you reforecast and have a revised schedule, you should be able to go back and recommunicate that plan to people and provide them the priorities so that they can focus on the priorities and get the job done. Also, if you have a transparent system of monitoring the status, you don't have to wait till the end of the week or end of the month to know what the status. You know, where are we supposed to be, where are we? So it's like a navigator. It will tell you this is where you are. If you deviated from what your schedule is, it will put you back inside that. So that will help you that everybody stays on focus to complete the project on time. And another aspect of it is, which I thought is, ultimately doing a project on time is excellent, but doing it within cost is another very critical item. Because you need budgets. You have within the cost you need to build it. So if you need to achieve that, you need to integrate schedule and cost. Because as you are spending money, you need to make sure that you have reached the progress, the physical progress, as your expenditures are, you're spending money. So anytime you find that the remaining work that is pending and what money needs to be spent is beyond your budget, then you need to make necessary corrective actions.
We're talking about forecasting of cost and schedule.
So if it is not integrated, it's a huge challenge. So integrating that is very important. And also from a contractor standpoint, he needs to get his cash flow properly managed. So if this integration is there, he knows if I achieve this by this date, then I'll get my money by this date. So he will never get into a cash flow issue. And in case it's not progressing as per plan, the system can notify you that you're not going to get this money, which is what is very important for him, so that he can focus on getting, putting all his energy to meet that milestone so that he gets his payment done. And in the process, since it's connected to the same system, the owner is willing to pay because he's getting something out of it. He's achieving a milestone. So it's a win-win situation for both.
So we are talking about, is it something which will not disrupt their current way of working?
Absolutely not. So what happens is, today, see, where there is a lack of automation is procurement. Because in procurement still people send out tenders on emails, they receive offers, and there are softwares like Ariba which is helping them to automate it. Because what happens is, procurement is a key item where money is committed, as well as these items have to come to the site. So unless the order goes on time and items are shipped to the site on time, or construction happens on time, you can have your drawings ready, you need to have your items ready, you have the resources and the tools or the machinery required. Once all this is there, then this can be done. So this is the reason why the advanced work packaging has evolved. So what happens, instead of trying to solve a very large puzzle, you take the project and break it down into multiple installation work packages. And for that, each of these installation work packages are unique and it coexists as one. So you break down that installation work packages to a construction work package, and you say that what are the drawings required for finishing that package, what are the procurements to be done on that package, and what are the construction to be done on those. So you're only dealing with a smaller subset and focusing on completing that off. So that is because when you don't have a fully integrated system in, you might as well manage each of these packages through whatever means you are, so that the chances of failure are lesser, and you can take corrective actions on those packages. And also, as I said, those installation work packages have been designed to work independently.
Okay.
And then you just run multiple work packages simultaneously, and all these things merge into together to finally complete the project.
So the conventional wisdom in project management talks about divide and rule. Now there is a paradigm shift based on our discussions. It is more like divide, plan, and integrate for effective integration management of projects.
With this advanced work packaging, that is the approach where you have individual things which is an isolation, and then you integrate all of that at the project level, so that even in a conventional way of doing things can work.
Okay.
But if you have an integrated system,
Okay.
I mean, you can take the benefit of doing this, but here the chances of failure of any package is limited.
Okay. Now this BIM, especially the 5D, 6D stuff is really catching up tremendously. Now, what is your take on that?
See,
to
explain, you have 3D. So when you update the 3D model with the status of the schedule, so that you show on the 3D model that this is what was supposed to be done, and then you update the status and say this was done, this is still pending. It becomes easier for a person who is not a project manager or a person who anybody can understand. Yeah. Saying that, okay, this much part of my house should have been built today or by this week, but only this much is built, and this is what is outstanding. So it is easy to question. So if that needs to be effectively done, typically 3D models are produced by the design organizations, which gives you a BIM model. Okay. Now, what you are monitoring on the 4D is the constructions part of it. You can put in anything. You can look at the construction procurement status or construction status. Now, if you need to monitor the construction status, you need to modify the model based on the construction sequence, which means you have to break that up into pieces based on a construction sequence, and then you link it to the activities which are to be completed, so that when that activity is updated, I can show that this much of color is painted up. Okay. So that is one activity somebody has to do. So the contractor has to do it, so that he gives you a construction sequence. So what happens is, the contractor has to give you they call it as LOD 300 drawing, and they have to model the LOD from the LOD 300 model, a construction sequence based model. Okay. Then you can link it up with construction, so that when the schedule is there, you can see, oh, how much was work is planned this week. You can see it on the model. Okay. And then you see the status getting updated there. So you say this is a variation, so you can take that decision. Okay. 5D, along with schedule, if you add cost also, saying that this is the cost, so I can do some what if analysis. If I follow this mechanism or this process, or I reforecast it this way, what will it cost me? If it costs more, so I can see it on the model. Okay. Saying that to achieve this, with this money, how much can I complete? So it's much easier for somebody to relate. Okay. On the model. Okay. But again, these are all visualization requirements only. It is not going to help you do your job faster. Okay. It helps a layman who doesn't understand project management, and ultimately you need to go and beat down the problem which is stopping your work and fix it and get it done. Right. So these are extremely useful for very top management people,
for sponsors and
who are owners, okay, for very quick visualization, and instead of reading reports and getting lost in it. Okay. So that is where 4D and 5D come.
See, these are all a kind of a capital investment in the tool. So when my project is in full swing, okay, that is fine, I can justify it. And when the project is over, how do I justify my investment on this integrated project management tools? That is one aspect of it. The second one is the affordability of tools for integrated project monitoring and control for small and medium-sized enterprises.
See, the affordability is based on what is the value the system provides you. Now, if you are running a project, no matter what value it is, be it building a house or be it building a refinery, you need to have a system to monitor your schedule and cost. Most organizations do that on Excel. And then if you look at what is the cost escalation, how much will you spend extra because you could not complete the job within the budget, and also what would it cost you if the project gets delayed, that is the basis on which you need to take a decision on the on investment for the system. So what is your other option is only Excels, or maybe have independent system. You have a Primavera, you have a system for tracking, you have a reporting, you have multiple systems. So I would say first is, because these systems are available on the cloud, you don't have to invest a large amount of money in terms of hardware. You can subscribe to these applications so that you only pay during the usage of the project, and once the project is over, you don't need to have the system being used. And typically what we have seen is that the cost of such a system is about 0.01% of the project value. And by spending so much, if you can prevent the possibility of a project delay and a cost overrun, I see it is a lot of value. Okay. So I would say every project should set up a system so that they have control, visibility, predictability, and they are able to get back and manage this project, as what they planned within the budget that they have set. And also for a EPC contractor, it's inevitable because they need to manage their cash flows, and today's market, their profits are also minimal. They need to make sure that they are absolutely in track of what is their contingency budget and whether you're using it up and tracking that, and also closely monitoring your cash flow. And if there is anything that can tell you that you're not going to meet those milestones of cash flow, and help you prioritize your work based on the cash flow and your deliverables, depending on your critical path, it's going to be a lot of value for them.
Okay. And what is the typical implementation effort? Now we are talking about the product cost, and you said, okay, based on subscription model on the cloud, we can scale it up or scale it down. Now what about the implementation effort?
See, as far as implementation is concerned, one of the most, what we have focused on, we've also given a lot of importance to processes. So if you have a process which is a global best practices of project management built into the system, as I said in the earlier session, in manufacturing, the most critical thing was process, because they believe that the process is right, the product is right. So if we have built it with the global best practices of from a process standpoint, so we roll out the system straight away out of the box on that processes. So all you need to do is just put your data inside, provided you want a change because you work differently than the global standards. So you could set up a systems like this in 4 weeks or 8 weeks, maximum, and you're ready to go. And then you have your project absolutely visible to you. Okay. Also, another aspect which I felt is important is, see, many a time you have a PMC associated with this project. So PMC is good at their value engineering, their ability to manage the project. So what we do is we provide resources to them so that they will work with your PMC and capture all the information, update all the systems, so that your report will be latest. We don't have to teach them all of this, and then they start learning how to use the system. Yeah. Our resources will work with them and make sure that you get the latest data inside this. So if there is one part of it is implementation, second is also handholding the PMC by providing resources who can ensure that all the data is captured, everything is updated, and you always have a real-time dashboard in front of you.
Okay, so that way it eases out the the implementation effort.
Correct. So you don't have to. Everybody need not learn, and this team will continuously keep training people. So as you do a couple of projects, probably this service team is not required. You could do it by yourself. No,
Yeah,
that's it.
and when it comes to forecasting of cost or typically cost, we leverage a lot of historical data for doing this forecasting of estimates and stuff like that. So without an integrated project monitoring and control system, I think it is almost impossible to leverage.
Precisely. So, see, what happens is once you set up a system like this, it's capturing all the data right from the start of the job till the end of it, whatever lessons learned, whatever data. Now it's available in a database. You can use that information for your next project in terms of the knowledge, as well as you do a couple of projects, you also see patterns.
Okay.
And these patterns can be used to feed into the project so that you can take corrective actions way before. I mean, again, you can call it as artificial intelligence or machine learning and things like that. At least it can warn you that you failed at these places or these things have taken longer times and this was a reason why it failed. Those lessons learned can be available to you to help you to manage, better the next project, so that you're always a learning organization.
So at least it will make you more competitive, even in the bidding process.
Correct. And also, if you follow right processes, you can mitigate a lot of risk associated with the project. Even at the cash flow level, you can plan them well. You can make sure that everything is planned and done, and then you're not doing a firefighting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel, for all these insights based on your experience in implementing integrated project monitoring.
Thank you, Abhi, for that.
Thank you.